With that in mind, I'm going to introduce our three panelists this morning. To my left is Patti Aston. Patti is the Director of Sales for Advantech Wireless, and I'll tell you a little bit about Patti. She, believe it or not, she has 20 years of experience in the satellite industry, although she looks like she's about 23. So she's working in the business since you were in kindergarten, yeah. Yes, a genius. Miss Aston joined Advantech in 2012 as its director. She manages sales activities with a focus on leading-edge VSAT, ASAT, and high-power amp technologies. Prior to joining, she spent nearly a decade, I believe, with Viasat, a pretty innovative company as well, and she helped them win multi-million-dollar projects around the world. She holds her master's degree from George Washington University. Welcome, Patti. Sitting to her left is Dr. Tong. Tong is also a first-timer at the Tech Forum, so we welcome him here. Tong is the Senior Director of Strategic Alliances for Harmonic. He's been with the company 15 years, and his past responsibilities include HVC network design, telco solutions marketing, and most recently, I think I would be safe to say your passion, which is OTT. Marketing and technologies. You seem to really have a great feel for it. He was at the University of California, Davis, as a medical physicist. So kind of a renaissance man, diverse background here. You have degrees from Beijing University, University of Arizona, and you speak all around the world at Telecom World, Broadcast Asia, Communicasia, but you probably can't get a word in at your dinner table, right? If you're like me. And he's also the author of 30 technical papers and reports. So we welcome Dr. Tong with us this morning. To Dr. Yu's left is another pretty prominent person in our industry. He is, of course, not Lou Dubin. We felt we had too many Lou's on the panel, so we sent Lou to Brazil, but we brought in a real expert. Fred Morris. Fred, of course, is the Vice President of Global Sales Engineering for Comtech EF Data. He's responsible for the technical solutions for the company's customers, and previously he was the General Manager of their ViperSat Network Products Group. During his distinguished career, Fred has held various senior business development and technical marketing positions. Prior to Comtech EF Data, he was with the folks in the sky at Intelsat. He holds his Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering degree from the University of Connecticut and a master's degree in Technology Management from the University of Maryland. I'm not going to give you a lot of background about their companies. That will sort of emerge as they begin to talk. So I want to use the time that we have for them to share with us their expertise. I thought we'd approach this three ways. We spend about 15 minutes on the current landscape, and sort of give a snapshot of what you're seeing out there in this area of convergence. And then secondly, take a look at what we think is going to unfold over the next 12 to 18 months. Okay, so the folks out there can get a sense of what's ahead, how to make their investments, how to align their networks, how to be thinking about this stuff, because that's what's going to happen, right? And then we're going to take a look into the future. We're going to see, or maybe speculate, on what you folks have in your skunk works right now, what you think about when you're in the shower, what your biggest fantasies are, what your needs are, in your view, for the customer that hasn't come forward yet. So we'll take a look way out. So if we can agree to do that, that will be our discussion over the next 50 minutes or so, okay? Okay. So Patti, since you're on my left and you're with Advantech, which begins with an A, we'll start with you. What is happening out there if you look at the landscape?
Well, what we're seeing is that in the broadcast industry, people are looking more and more for throughput, for the ability to maximize their bandwidth, to drive down cost, but drive up performance. So to do that, they're looking toward technology to be able to put the most bits per hertz out there, to be able to empower their people out in the remote areas to provide content and get it back to their broadcast stations, to the consumer as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Some of the ways that they're doing that is with different types of technology, satellite, LTE, wireless, certainly. What we focus on, of course, is the satellite part of it. We also have microwave. People are using that as well. So that what we are seeing right now is that people are looking more and more for higher throughput from remote areas back to the hubs and to be able to put that out into the stations. So what we are finding is that using our GAN technology, RF equipment, drives down the power utilization, allows the signals to go out more efficiently and more powerfully. We also have modems out in the field that are producing as much as 155 megabits pushing back to the hubs. We're seeing that people are really looking for that kind of throughput, that kind of performance.
Okay, so so there's two issues here, right? I mean, there's certainly bandwidth, which is kind of like the new gold or the new oil.
Yes.
Has to be managed efficiently. Try to maximize the value from it. I mean, I think everybody agrees on that. And then there's this concept of the dynamic network, where people just want, as you say, getting information back directly to the site, right? Because now we've got, I see TV2 Denmark has their network anchor out in the field every day. I'm sorry. They have their network anchor out in the field every day. They're using KA band to do the nightly news.
Mm-hmm.
Those are changing dynamics. Can you just talk to them a little bit and how Advantech might be addressing that, or how you see those things playing out?
Yes, what we're seeing is that if they're out in the field, they have more ability to, or the requirement is to manage that content, produce that information out in the field, and then get it back to the network. So you may have a truck out there that has different types of equipment in it, allowing them to pick and choose the best solution for getting the information back. So on some downtime, they could use TDMA type of return carriers so that you have bursty traffic, it comes back, it utilizes the bandwidth very efficiently that way. And then all of a sudden the news time comes on, the anchor is out there, he's streaming video, and we can dynamically switch then from TDMA to SCPC, open up that channel just for the time that's needed, and then when the content shuts down, the transport will move back to TDMA and bursty traffic so that they can do all their cleanup, whatever they need to do in a more efficient way.
Okay. Creating efficiencies, Tong, I mean, that's obviously something that we're all looking to do. Why don't you give us a sense of what Harmonic is seeing out in the field right now with regard to the things that we want to talk about relating to convergence?
Actually, we see three things. First of all, we see so many disruptive new technologies come to the market. And secondly, the way the consumers consume the video in many different ways. That's also changing. And third, we see lots of new business models people are trying. We actually, late last year, early this year, we did the market survey along with the market research firm. We surveyed over about 2,600 broadcasters worldwide and over 500 the service providers, basically to ask them what are they thinking strategically. The top three answers we got from the broadcasters are, first of all, it's multi-screen. is on their number one priority.
What was that, Tong?
Multi-screen.
Multi-screen, sure.
The second is the HD transition. So that is, as I said, this is international. For the US, the second is IP delivery. And the third is workflow optimization. And for the service providers, the answer is number one is same, is a multi-screen. Number two is HD transition. And number three is IP delivery. And I think it's interesting when we say IP delivery, what I'm thinking is not, there's two things actually I'm talking about. One is traditional, today if you say AT&T, for example, Uverse, when they do the IP delivery, that is, we call first generation IPTV, basically is the CBR, constant bit rate encoding, and multicasting to the network. And for the VOD, basically is using the RTSP protocol. So the next generation for the internet, also called, some people also call it IPTV, but some people OTT, but basically it's IP delivery. Basically it's the OTT, the technology is different. The encoding will not be the CBR, rather is adaptive bit stream. So it's not going to be the multicast, rather is the unicast HTTP based. So that is the what do we see?
And that is happening right now.
Oh yeah, this is the wave, right? This is the trend. I think the NDS guy in your panel mentioned the Cablevision CEO mentioned. So you cannot against the wave. So they're thinking the cable in the future, maybe one day they will not provide TV anymore, only the broadband. So for the OTT video delivery, the other vendors like Netflix, the HBO Go, yeah. And also the Cox Communications. I think is a month ago had a trial in the Orange County, California, for the their Flare Watch. Basically, is the OTT delivery for their live channels and on demand. You just pay less, so they have less margin. So instead of against the wave, you basically embrace them.
Yeah, but the problem with the wave is, first of all, you have to know how to ride it. And if you ride it wrong, you can get turned upside down like I did yesterday in the ocean and bang my head. And those things all are sensible and they're happening. But I wanted to ask, well, the fellow from Dolan actually, because he lives out here in Long Island, but I'll ask you, does that make sense for a cable company now to effectively become the railroad and let somebody else worry about the cargo they put on it? Because railroads can be a profitable business, but they at the end of the day, the cargo is the thing that has the value.
That is actually, this is a topic has been debated for a long time, not only in the cable, but also in the telco, right? The telco operators, they hate, people call them the down pipes.
Yeah.
But if you look at all the exciting applications, it's not really generated by the telco itself, right? All these exciting applications for the video, for example, Netflix, HBO Go, right? And for the cable operators, that's the same thing. Unless they change their business model. One thing I think this morning the two panel also mentioned, maybe instead of you giving me the bundle, how about a la carte? I just choose one or two channels I'm interested in. It's all in the trial, right? Nobody knows, but you got to try.
Yeah, sure. Well, let's stop right there because we could go on all morning on this subject alone. Fred, I'll move it over to you. Obviously, give us a view of the landscape from Comtech's perspective. Comtech, by the way, is twice the recipient of the Teleport Industries Technology of the Year Award, so Fred knows something of what he speaks. But before you do that, Tong threw out interesting new business models out there. What's the most interesting new business model you've seen out there now in terms of this converged model? Is there something that sort of strikes you, or do you want to just give me the overview?
What we have seen is a new business model for broadcast, mostly for file, live, and linear broadcast at a major network, that has decided to go all in, all IP, save for some legacy that is used for distribution outside of the network. And that's necessary at the current point to be able to do that, to be able to accommodate the legacy broadcast. And why would they do this? By the way, it's NBC. Why would they do this? They do it because it gives them some flexibility and some the availability of automating some functions that otherwise weren't automated. They were done by hand. They were done by phone. They were done electronically, but there was still a person involved in it. And this has the promise of being able to help them allocate capacity in a basis that they otherwise wouldn't be able to do. So, and it merges across all different platforms, from scheduling to the broadcast itself. So that is something that is new on the broadcaster side.
And
that we've seen.
that's a brand new network with Convergence around their linear system, right? So they've sort of gone non-linear.
Yes,
with that.
and
that's a big deal.
It's and it's just underway. So the proof is, we execute on this, and it'll turn into being a very interesting example of what's out there.
Sure.
And really, it's a continuation of what we've been seeing for years in the IP evolution on the broadcast side. It started off with DirecTV, where DirecTV was looking at going towards an IP solution all the way up to the modulator itself, which is what we did with them, and it continued on the IP side for, at least in DS and G. We've seen this, saw that 5-6 years ago with Canal Plus, where the first thing they did was the French presidential elections, and it was over our system, but it was IP. We've also seen just recently a similar type network with the BBC.
All right.
With our equipment. That's all video over IP. So it's clear that that's the direction that things are going in, and it'll continue to evolve that way.
So obviously you see that as the wave, the real wave right now.
Yes.
Because it's happening. Networks are building out next generation networks. They're finally making that investment, which Rich Wolf said 5 years ago we're going to have to make, but man, we really aren't quite sure where to go. It sounds like at least some of networks are taking the plunge.
Yes.
Well, let's come back to sort of the macro view of what else you're seeing out in the marketplace from Comtech. I mean, those are big deals, big trends. Anything else that we need to know about that's happening right now from Comtech's perspective?
In terms of broadcast?
Yeah, broadcast, and also broadcasting for the non-broadcaster. Some of the media companies, the telcos that need to move into this space. Is there anything trend-wise you're seeing out there?
We have a platform that was originally designed and was originally purpose-built for the cellular backhaul industry, and that has turned out to be a platform that we're using for broadcast and for enterprise, coupled with a bandwidth management system that we've had for years, ViperSat. And all of that pulled together is really, we're seeing a lot of pull there. We've seen it in the cruise business, for instance, non-broadcast, but there's quite a bit of interest there with it, and customers with it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Thanks, Fred. Patti, I'm going to bring it back to you. First of all, is there anything you wanted to add to the present landscape? And if so, go ahead. And then I'm going to ask you about the next 12 to 18 months.
Well, I think the present landscape is somewhat, it's flexible right now. Things are moving. Like Fred said, we're seeing a lot of movement to all IP. We have seen folks saying, oh no, the ASI interfaces are not exactly what we need. We need IP, and I think we'll see more and more of a trend towards just straight IP in both broadcast and the commercial, other commercial areas.
Okay. I probably, does anyone disagree with that? Well,
No,
everybody-
it's pretty straightforward.
No way. Okay, so we're on our way, and so a lot of innovations now are happening around that. I think it's the one thing, by the way, that our industry doesn't get a lot of credit for, if I can plug the satellite industry for a while. We are slowly innovating every day. We're putting new innovations out into the market. We're serving new types of markets with new types of services. All the things that these folks talk about, that New Lion was talking about, that Globecomm does, are enabling the satellite industry and their customers to do things that they weren't able to do 5 years ago. We don't make a big deal about our innovations, but they're happening every day.
There.
So that's my plug for our industry. Hopefully we don't need it. But as we look ahead, 12 to 18 months, obviously, again, people are making significant investments in IP and in the convergence space. Where should they be looking to make those investments? What are the cautionary tales that you would tell them at this point?
I think right now what's important is to look at, we're seeing a lot of smaller networks popping up. We don't see a lot of the, 3,000 node networks, 1,500 node networks. We're seeing smaller, specific networks, and I think the most important thing is to look at something that has flexibility, that has the ability to grow, that has the ability to change and move as you're implementing a system, whatever that system might be. So if you think you're going in one direction, it may go in that direction, but something may come up, which is always happens, that will cause you to take a different path. So what's really important is to be able to have a network that allows you to bob and weave, excuse me.
I got you.
As different challenges or different innovative and disruptive technologies come about. They're all on the drawing table, and they're all going to be coming out very shortly.
Okay. Anything that people should stay away from? Maybe aside from
Dinosaur.
Comtech and our Harmonic's products, probably you would say.
I could name a few. No,
We don't mean that.
no. I think what you need to stay away from, or people need to stay away from, is, for lack of a better word, dinosaur technology. Stuff that's been out there that hasn't seen a lot of change, that doesn't look like it's going to the next step.
Anything in particular come to your mind? Any specific?
Specifically, I would look at, like tube technology, RF equipment. I just think it's been done well, and it still serves a purpose, but if you're starting a new teleport, for instance, and you want to put in some really high-powered amplifiers, look to the newest technology, because that's where the growth is going to be.
Okay, so I'm going to come back to you on the new high HPA technology, because maybe you guys are doing something there. Dr. Yu, Tong, she talked about bobbing and weaving. I'll put it in a more Asian context, right? The Bodhidharma came from India in the 8th century to China and started Buddhism there. Buddhism is based on the principle that everything is always moving, and yet there is a center, but it's never permanent. That sounds a heck of a lot like the market we're describing today. Things are converging, and yet if you listen to, again, the New Lions and others, from a monetary point of view, they're fragmenting. So people are making less money. They're finding it harder to find ways to monetize this. Over the next 12 to 18 months, what's going to happen in this Zen Buddhist marketplace that we're trying to deal with right now?
When we look at, actually, Harmonic is doing video, so I'm looking at it from video side. We see several technology trends. One is the Liu compression standard, which is HEVC. I don't know if it's high efficiency video coding. It's also called H.265. Basically, it's after the AVC. So the purpose of that is to improve 50% of compression efficiency. So that is is coming. And the second is everybody talking about, actually, is the Ultra HD, the 4K, right? So that, actually, people usually associate that with the HEVC, because otherwise the too big bandwidth is required to deliver the Ultra HD signals. So that's the second one we see. And third, basically, is everybody talking about is everything goes to IP, right? So it's everything is IP. The third one is, a fourth one is we see is the function collapse. What do we call in our? What that means is the, in the past, for example, if you have the file you want to play out, there is a playout server, just standalone playout server. And then you say, oh, in the production, I need to add the graphics, 3D graphics, animation, logo insertion. They're all separate boxes, right? You add them together, then you generate the final SDI signals. You go to encoding, then go uplink. So the function collapse, actually, which we already have a product today in the market, we put the playout plus all this graphic overlay, logo insert, everything into one box. So that is not, we already done today. So for the next 12 months, we are trying to do the more function collapse. The reason why we can do that because we have a very broad product portfolio, basically cover from production to all the way to the multiplexing. So what we're doing is trying to put the all the functionality, like what I said, the playout, the broadcast encoding, meaning you can generate the variable bit rate, do the state maxing, go to satellite. And also we can do the OTT encoding, generate the multi-bit rate, stream output, do the packaging for different standard, the HLS, smooth streaming, Adobe, and the Dash. So all this is into one hardware platform. Only by select different license, then you can have different functionality.
Okay,
So that is very flexible. And also because you don't have this big SDI router between all these boxes, you save a lot of money. So that's also cost effective.
Sure.
So that's what we're thinking.
That's something to see out in the marketplace. What are the risks with that functional collapse, if you will, into one platform? Are there any risks or anything to sort of be mindful of when you're out there in that environment?
No.
Oh, wait a minute. I'll ask the others here, but no. But I mean, this is state of the art. This is where it's going to go over the next 12 to 18 months.
Yes.
Okay. In terms of, as Patti said, legacy technology or older technology that's been established, or things that are out there right now that people should avoid if they're enhancing their networks, if they're building new teleports, what are the things that are poison? What should you stay away from?
Well, actually, this is the good question because sometimes when I talk with the probably it's not really suited for this group, but it's for the telco operators, for example, when they just starting the greenfield when they want to do the IPTV, I always advise them not to go to the IPTV 1.0, meaning CBR, multicast, the RTSP-based VOD. I always advise them to directly go to the OTT technology, which is ABR, HTTP-based unicast structure. Mm-hmm. There's several advantages, right, on that. Actually, there's one, because I talked about the HEVC, so I just want to go back to that, is today when people talk about HEVC, the application people think satellite operator is going to go for it because they save a lot of bandwidth, 50% eventually. However, there's a million of set-top boxes out there, right? How those set-top boxes is not going to support HEVC today. So replace them, that'll be very difficult. So we think the market is going to adapt HEVC. There will be the OTT. Because in the OTT, basically, the customer bring their own devices, right? So basically, you give this burden to the customer. You have to buy iPhone or iPad or all these fancy devices. So those can decode HEVC today. Actually, we did for the iPad, the latest version, we can do the smoothly decoding HEVC, 1080p. So they have a power to do that.
Okay. Okay, so Fred, moving to OTT. Well, first of all, you have any fundamental disagreement with what Tong proposes over the next 12 to 18 months?
No, actually, I was going to take what Tong said about hardware compression and just talk about what that's a trend that's going on. It's been going on for a while, but it will continue. And two things are happening simultaneously. You're seeing applications that are using compression and such as HEVC, and you're reducing just the base bandwidth that's needed for that kind of an application. And then on the transport side, there's the compression that's used to achieve a better business case, which is really what it's all about. It's, everybody is trying to make money with whatever they're trying to do. And when you're able to reduce the cost, especially the transport cost, the satellite transport cost, that's to a number of people's benefit, say for the satellite operator. But that's the direction that we see, and it'll continue to go. So simultaneously, we are also building product that will be able to provide greater amounts of bandwidth. So it's, all those factors are underway, and it's just addressing what's going on. The bandwidth demand is increasing just about in every sector. So that's one constant. It's just learning how to be able to handle that in a way to be able to monetize it.
Yeah. It's interesting how bandwidth, as I said, kind of functions like a natural resource, and it becomes increasingly precious as it's consumed more and there's less of it available. So it seems like at Comtech and Harmonic and Advantech, a lot of thought is being put into maximizing that natural resource. What's the most interesting thing that you think will come down over the next 12 to 18 months to continue to manage that, or will Ka-band change that whole proposition? What do you see happening there?
I don't see Ka-band entering into the picture on broadcast for a bit, but with what's going on in the international side of it with standards, with the DVB standards, DVB has been looking at all different types of new features, new functions with the roll-off factors, more modulation code points, and better performance on those code points, and then wrapping all that up into possibly a new standard. Is that going to happen within the next 2 years? Maybe, but the rule that the DVB has is it has to be completely almost a disruptive change and be that great, 30% savings on the transport to then make that a standard. So we're not quite there yet.
Is that you saying 30%, or is that
No,
an
that's
industry
usually,
sort?
that's their rule of thumb.
That is the rule. Okay.
Yeah,
That is the rule.
that's the rule of thumb. So if it's not there, then it'll be an extension of the current standards, which is where we are right now.
Now that's a nice lead into getting out into the future a little bit, because I know, or I suspect in Skunk Works, given what you guys have done in some other areas, that you're probably working on this, or there's something more to be talked about here in terms of disintermediating the standard and trying to get to that point.
Well, we have our own suggested modulation and coding and the performance and the roll-off factors for the DVB, and they're in product now.
Okay.
In our 760 product, a high-speed modem. This isn't giving away any trade secrets. That's going to make its way into many other of our modems also. And, of course, there could be things that happen that make it perform even better than what we've got currently. So that's all out there and could be expected.
Right, but you would probably, if I'm hearing you correctly, you prefer that DVB standard be kind of disintermediated, that we need to go in a new direction with it?
No, I think we should investigate where we can go with the technology to be able to actually achieve what their rule of thumb is, 30% better,
Right.
and make for a new standard. And that could happen in 2 years or so. Then we're talking about changing out set-top boxes, and we're going through the whole evolution again that we did from S to S2.
Yeah. again, in an ideal world, what would be the driver, the technology that would make that happen? What needs to happen from a technical perspective?
That Comtech owns a license for absolutely everything.
From your mouth to God's ears, as they say. Okay. Very good. Patti, let's bring it back to you in terms of looking forward, the future. Obviously, you guys, I think, if I'm not mistaken, have won several awards for R&D. A big Canadian award. You won the PME, the Mercuriadis. Am I
Yes,
pronouncing that?
I
Award?
believe so, yes.
Best overall company of the year. So obviously, what you do in R&D has gotten attention. What's happening in Skunk Works now? What are things that we're kicking around there that we might see, that we'd like to see, that should be seen, without giving away the family jewels, of
No,
course?
we won't give away the family jewels. Now,
Unless you want to give them away. Well,
No, I think we'll keep those. But what we are seeing is, or what we're looking forward to, is the high throughput satellites. I don't think we can move forward in any of our industry without taking Ka band seriously in all of the markets. So we are working on we have a high throughput hub that we're introducing, that we've just introduced. What we need to be careful of is the different designs of the different Ka band satellites. I mean, we've got several different designs out there. Some of them are more conducive to the consumer product. Some of them are more conducive to a commercial product. Some of them may be more conducive to, the mobile environment or the broadcast environment. So I think that as we see these satellites actually launched and service actually implemented, obviously we have some already, we just have to be careful from a broadcast standpoint that airwaves aren't saturated instantly, because here is an incident and everybody goes into the spot beam and all of a sudden all the bandwidth is all used up. So that's something that we do have to be careful of. But what we're also seeing with that is that we will drive down the cost of our terminals. So although we do have to put new terminals out there and new modems out there, the cost of those will be realized by the savings that you'll get through the high throughput satellite bandwidth and the service. That's something that we're looking at. We're also looking at the RCS standard and working very closely on that, because everything has to change. We can't stay still, and we do have the S2. I think there will be the S3 or S4 or S5 or whatever it really winds up being, and we're working on looking at that and looking at maximizing everything that we can and optimizing everything that we can going forward.
And obviously, associations like ours, SSPI, works with you guys to do that. So obviously, always keep us informed in terms of how we can advocate for these standards.
You want the family jewels, is what
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
No, we just want what's right for the rest of you. I mean, we're there to promote the industry. So, but it's all good work. Tong, you talked about a little bit about things that are happening over the next 12 to 18 months that are somewhat futuristic. What else is coming out of Skunk Works at Harmonic, or what other things are you thinking about that may or may not make it to the market but could be exciting if they get out there for the community, and maybe these folks might want to advocate for it because it'll help their business propositions?
Yes. As I mentioned, HEVC is a good standard. They have a promise to 50% increase over the AVC. However, they have the legacy set-top box problems. So that's why we also invested a lot of effort on the AVC and even MPEG-2, right? Because if you look at today, in the US cable, most of them still MPEG-2, right? Even the satellite DTH operators, HD, they use AVC, but the SD, they also use MPEG-2. So we are also, not only to do the HEVC work, we also put a lot of effort try to improve the compression efficiency further on the AVC and MPEG-2. And we believe we can achieve up to 30% more in terms of compression efficiency in the no time frame. I don't know, but we think we can do that. So that's something we're working on also.
Okay. Just a question about collaboration in the R&D space. How much influence do each of you have in terms of input on the kinds of things that are being developed in R&D? Because you're both pretty much on the development side, business development, but also, you get involved with product development. Is there an iterative process in your companies? How's it working right now? I'll ask each of you. I'll ask that question.
Okay,
You're separate organizations.
Because when I work with the strategic partners, I get some, the feature
Right.
request. Sometimes it's on the product level, sometimes it's on the system level. So yeah, we will get that feedback into the product team. Usually, they will take that seriously. Depends on which strategic partner, of course.
Sure. Fred, how much time does Comtech spend on R&D type stuff?
As much as allowed under law, but quite a bit. And we're always looking at what the customer requirements are, and building that into and anticipating what they'll need, and building that into the product sets. So there's quite a bit of that, and I'm not really joking about as much as allowed by law. There are rules, accounting rules on how much you can spend, so we spend the maximum on R&D.
Sure. Patti?
Well, obviously, we do a ton of R&D, but in terms of what input I and my sales team has on what Advantech does going forward, and that is huge. I make the R&D folks actually pretty crazy with all of the requests that come in, and then I pound them on a regular basis. But what's very interesting is we, generally speaking, what we do is when we talk to our partners and our customers, we ask, what do they want to see? What is it that they see going forward? Because they are the closest to the customer. They have the most insight of where things are going in their particular market. And then that information I feed back to the home office and to the R&D organization. And what my experience is that we then move on it. One thing that's nice about our size company is that we can see something that's required that is going to make a difference in the marketplace, and we can move resources around to make that happen. And it's really kind of refreshing.
Yeah.
So that's something that we do on a regular basis.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you also about a new high-powered amp product that I've heard about, which, as you know, I also manage World Teleport Association, which could be
Right.
quite interesting for the teleports. Can you just give us a little sneak preview of that? 'Cause
Yeah, we have what's called our Sapphire line of GaN high-powered amplifiers. And we can saturate an entire satellite with the outdoor equipment that's mounted right on the back of the antennas. So what we have is a phase-combined group of GaN amplifiers, so that if, for instance, one of them goes down, you'll lose maybe 1 dB of power. You can swap it out, never lose the ability to transmit. So regardless of what's happening, you might drop a little bit in power, but you're going to keep transmitting, which is what everybody needs to do.
Yeah.
We can go up to 6,000 kilowatts on a C-band. We can do 2,500 on on KU. Not sure where we are on X and S. This is a fairly new product. We do have installations worldwide. I think we've got 5 of them right now, and we're seeing great results.
Okay. Good. What's the name of the product again?
The Sapphire line. I
Sapphire.
personally like that.
That's a nice. Yeah, that's
Yes,
nice.
yeah.
So
The
you can
family
also-
jewels.
That's right.
There we go.
You can also get it at London Jewelers in Comtech.
That's right.
Well, Tong, since we've let her do her sales message for the day, but we're interested in teleports, of course. anything that, any product you've got out there that the teleport operators should be looking at right now?
You know, the one thing what I said is that we call the channel port basically is the channel in the box playout device. I think they might be interested. And the other is the, you know, as long as you need to save the bandwidth, when you have a video, you do the compression. You know, we are the, you know, the compression leader in the industry, especially when you need to do the statistic multiplexing, VBR. And also we have this OTT transcoder whole end-to-end solution.
Very good. Fred, as I mentioned, you know, that you guys had won 2 awards from the teleport industry. It was the Double Talk carrier and carrier product, I think in '07, and CDM 625, that advanced satellite modem. I think it was 2010 you guys got that award from the members of the Teleport Association. Anything now that the teleport operators should be looking at, or what's your best shot for them?
We also have RF that teleport operators can use, but probably one of the products that is coming along that we've introduced and are making great headway on is a network management system to tie in all of the Comtech product, RF, modem, et cetera. And that at a teleport would really, I think the operators would find that to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, they talk about that more and more. Okay, great. We've got about a couple of minutes left. Anybody in the audience want to ask a question or challenge an assumption that was made today? David, could you identify yourself?
Sure, David Little, Comtech data. Dr. Tong, you had mentioned about set-top box being part of the legacy equipment that you kind of can't get rid of, but you also said that consumers now bringing their own devices, tablets and iPhones. We're also seeing the proliferation of monitors, not televisions anymore, you know, that you're utilizing that maybe you don't need that set-top boxes for. You see a change happening within that part of the industry?
Exactly, yeah, that's what as I said, today's IPTV basically is go to set-top box, go to your TV. So the next generation HTTP-based unicast will go to all the collected devices, which including all the tablets, smartphones, collect TV, PCs, right? So then you don't need.
So what happens to the set-top box industry?
Well, that's the. Yeah, they may not need that.
I would say what happens to the set-top industry is what's happened to today. It's declining pretty heavily.
I'm sorry, Brian, it's declining? It's going to decline. Yeah.
It has been declining.
So what will be the dominant device? What will be the...
I think what we're saying for new ways of delivery, like Tom was saying, is it will be any device. And you got to think they're proliferating in much greater volumes, and they change out very often and get upgraded and get bigger screens and better audio, and it's going to be any device. But the TV is going to be less and less used. I think it is in most houses.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember someone who actually works at one of the networks said he built this big entertainment room, had a 60-inch TV screen. It was beautiful. And he said, boy, I can't wait. The whole family will be in here. We'll be eating popcorn. He was talking about the 1950s. And he said they turns on the thing, and the kids are all watching on their devices with their backs turned. He's watching. He and his wife are watching a movie or something.
Yeah, that is very interesting. Actually, there's the market research report just came out saying, actually, contrary to what we think, the people watching the video on the tablet and the mobile phones, actually 85% they watch that tablet at home, and 45 watch on smartphone at home. It's not like when they do the subway or something. Actually, they watch those things at home for the convenience purpose. Yeah. Just like you said, your kids watch.
Yeah.
I've got a really beautiful picture. I've got my 6-year-old, my 9-year-old sitting on the couch in front of the big screen with their eye touches, watching video.
Right.
And I came down and I was, what's that? And I took a picture of it. I'm going to use that. That's it. It's real case.
Yeah, they'll be using it as a whiteboard someday. Yeah. Fred, do we need to redefine or change the name broadcast? Is it going to be something else? in 5 years? I mean, this, you know, when you say broadcast, it kind of sounds to me like an old musty calendar that you have in somebody's basement that your grandfather used to work, where your grandfather used to work. There's something going on here.
How do you know about those calendars? I think it's still it's technically coming from one location to multiple locations, so it's still technically broadcast.
Okay.
So I don't know. You know, it's changing, but will it all go away? No, I don't think so. I mean, we've been seeing pressure like this for years on the industry, and I can't see it. It sounds like there's room for people to do aggregation, and maybe that's where the Cox and the Comcasts and all of them will come together on it and
Yeah, I think so.
provide aggregation so that you can have it on a portal at your house on a Comcast portal.
Right, and in terms of the other stuff, the monetized stuff, Chris was talking earlier about curating tweets for NFL games and sporting events. There's probably a business there as well, aggregating Twitter feeds and doing something, a show or some sort of continuous broadcast around those. Patti, I'll give you the last word because I gave you the first one. Where do we go in terms of? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have a question? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, I have a technical question. Both you guys, Fred and Dr. Wu, you're both working on 4K. Everybody is. We're looking at it. We all know we're not going to make a dime distributing, delivering, producing 4K. It's like HD. It's going to cost us more to deliver the same product, the same revenue streams. Has anybody done the math yet to figure out, once we get HEVC up and running, how many streams of 4K can I put for distribution on a 40 megahertz transponder?
Okay, I will give you a very short answer, or if you want, I can have long answer. Short answer is today we think we can put not today for the HEVC for the one channel 4K we may achieve 40 megabits a second. So you can put 3 channels in the 145.
Our background is, traditional broadcasting, motion pictures. 4K is kind of interesting to us because actually we reached the point of diminishing returns in motion picture at 2K. Beyond 2K, there wasn't much reason to go to 4K. Part of it had to do with perception of what people could even see on a screen. And of all people, the CEA did a study of different screen sizes. Motion picture digital projection right now is running at 2K because when we went to 4K, more storage, more cost, no discernible benefit. What we are seeing 4K in is the acquisition side. And it may sound terrible, but it's because of sloppy cameramen. They'll shoot on 4K because they know if they screw up the shot, they can cone in on something and still get a 2K image out of it. Sony Pictures admitted to us that's what they're doing on their TV shows, on their acquisition of TV shows right now.
That kind of technology.
Yeah, it's basically the so-called digital zoom, which is. But so we're seeing technology start out in one direction, and people think it's going somewhere else, and it almost never goes there. Years ago, we had a battle between audio CDs and audio DVDs. Which one is going to win? Which one is the better technology? As one of the people from Dolby told me, he said, none of us saw the iPod coming at us. And I said, so that whole technology battle there went away. But in terms of 4K delivery, what our clients are seeing is they're looking at it, but they're not looking at it as next week's technology. They're just looking at it to see what the bandwidth will require.
Where do you think it's going to go? Because you're looking at it, obviously. Help our panel.
This may sound funny, but about 1/3 of the movies we produce are still shot on film. And the reason is, we know we can get to any resolution from film. That is far beyond anything we're capturing. So mostly we have our clients who are covering their butts on their productions. But where the industry is going, we think 2K is, at least for the time being, there's not going to be a reason for people to spend the money for 4K. And a lot of people are complaining now, I just bought that TV set. Why should I go out and buy a 4K TV set? Now the manufacturers would love you to go out and buy them because that's what they're after.
They're not exactly inexpensive either.
No, and by the way, how many people have a 3D set in their room? We all wanted that to go away as fast as possible, but even 3D is, it hit its peak and now it's on the decline, especially in homes.
Yeah, but as we know, over time, someone will continuously innovate on it, and there will be a convergence. It will make business sense, and there will be another iPod on the market, right?
AM stereo, that was a technology, remember that? It's going to take over all the AM bands. Where is it? There's sometimes when the technology is just not needed, or there's no market for it. It's a great idea out there, but
How about quadraphonic 8-track?
yeah, good point.
Still have that in your car, doesn't it?
Well, as you can see, we're looking ahead. We've talked a little bit about convergence today. I want to thank Patti, and I want to thank Tong, and I want to thank Fred for coming out here to do this, and I want to thank you for all the input. We're at the end of our panel session, but I'm sure these folks can stick around for a while and answer some of the other questions that were out there. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the Tech Forum.
Great.